for pretense make long prayers, they will receive the greater condemnation. Now remember, do you see the progression here? He's been going at the religious leaders, and this is a continuation of it. And so in verse 41, he sat down opposite the treasury and watched the people putting money into the offering box. Many rich people put in large sums, and a poor widow came and put in 2 small copper coins, which made a penny. In verse 43, and he called the disciples to him and said to them, "Truly I say to you, this poor widow has put in more than all those who are contributing to the offering box. For they all contribute out of their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, has put in everything she had, all she had to live on." Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking Marty brought the guest preacher in to talk about money, but that's not the case. That's not the case, I promise. But it is one of our favorite passages about giving, isn't it? The widow's mite. But as I've preached through this, and if you've heard messages on this, let me give you some interpretations that we often give about this passage. We often say, number one, it's not about how much you give, but what you have left over after you give. It's about a percentage, but that percentage is not that percentage is what's left and not what's given. I might put it like this: she had nothing left over, and so she's a great example. Now that's a great preaching point, and I'm afraid I've preached that message before. Maybe you've heard a message like this. It's all about the measure of self-denial or cost to the individual. In other words, we should give until it hurts. You should give until it hurts. Well, that's another good message. What about this? It's the attitude in which you give. Selfless, humble, surrender, expressing love and devotion. And by the way, she's given all she had, trusting God. And so she gave the highest percentage, and so she has the best attitude. Perhaps this last one, it's about giving everything you have. Now, you don't hear this a lot, but there are some that really take this to mean that the gift that truly pleases God is when you give everything. And you take a vow of poverty, per se, 100%. And so, what if I were to tell you, and I know this is you don't know me well enough to not get upset when I say this, but what if I told you that this passage wasn't about giving at all? You might be like me. And so let's do a little lesson just about exegesis. Exegesis is pulling out the meaning of the text to lead out of the text. And we have to ask ourselves, why is this story about the widow's mite right here after all this talk about the religious leaders? And eisegesis, by the way, is when we read into the text and when we read it and we assume we know what the text means. For this one reason, Jesus